Every heartbeat tells a story. Fall, feel, rise. That's the pulse of resilience, and it's the heartbeat of this year's World Resiliency Week. You're listening to the Unnecessary Harm podcast with your host, Shane Varco, Executive Director of the Dalgarno Institute. Today, we're diving into World Resiliency Week 2026, an internationally partnered platform bringing together prevention leaders, community change agents, and resilience architects from across the globe. Together, they unpack what falling, feeling, and rising actually looks like in the body, in the community, and in the moments that shape us every single day.
Hey, welcome to the Unnecessary Harm podcast. Good to have you along with us today, and welcome back for those who are return visitors, now subscribers. Always great to have fans and partners with us. World Resiliency Week 2026 is a global campaign fast approaching, end of June actually, this month. And like any real global campaign, it only works if it reaches people where they actually are, in their communities, their schools, their churches, their clubs, their feeds. Today's guests know those spaces from the inside. Adam Woods is a coordinator of the Hope Tour in Australia and part of the Acts Global Church Network, a community organisation committed to helping people rebuild their lives with hope and the reasonable grounds for it. He's one of the voices behind this year's World Resiliency Week campaign. Our other guest is Sneha Padayattil, and she is a youth prevention specialist, what we like to call preventionists. Rock stars. I've got one of your bracelets. It's all happening. She's also a credentialed catalyst at the Fourth Wave Foundation in India, where she lives, and one of the 8 World Resiliency Day global ambassadors. She has represented her organisation at the United Nations in Vienna and at the Asian Youth Forum on Drug Use Prevention. She too is one of the architects of this year's campaign, which is titled The Pulse of Resilience. Fall, feel, rise. 2 different countries, 2 different contexts, one shared conviction that resilience is not a luxury. It is a practice that belongs to everyone. Sneha and Adam, welcome to the Unnecessary Harm podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Rockin', don't be too anime. I know you're not excited. Yeah. Podcast. No, it's great to have you here, guys. Fantastic. Now, just let's get one thing clear. Earlier on, we had a conversation with the other 2 architects of this year's campaign, Jen and Dave. And let's be fair. Let's be honest. You guys are the cool kids, right? In the team, right?
It's not about that.
You're the fully sick guys, right?
Yeah.
Come on, own it. Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's good to have you guys here. Fantastic. No, really, really, really is. And I love that the World Resiliency Day platform is not just about a bunch of policymakers or clinicians or academics. That is that, and they are important, no argument that, but it's about grassroots operators, it's about incarnational operators as well that are really invested in their community. So it's great to have that voice here, that demographic in play, and your voice actually matters. So your context and perspectives are not only unique, the cultural contexts are also very different for both of you. Clearly, Australian and Indian, both very different. I live in one of those contexts, so I got a bit of a handle on that. But Adam's also with Jen now, so his handle's a little bit more contemporary, let's put it that way. I want to open up by mining some of the resiliency resources that you guys have already got in play in a part of the world that you live in and the operations that you facilitate. So Sneha, I'll start with you. Tell us about where you live in India. I mean, I think our listeners need to get an idea of the geography. India is a vast country with a huge population. I mean, Australians just can't get a handle on how massive the population is over there. So it's a big deal. And what are some of the contagions? And I use that word deliberately. What are some of the contagions that are unraveling people and leading them into substance use, particularly young people? So tell us about where your space is, and let's talk about a little bit about what are some of the contagions at work in your world.
So hi, I come from a state called Kerala, which is in the southern part of India. And Kerala is a really beautiful place, and it's known as God's own country for its greenery and the scenic views. We are a state that has excelled in healthcare, has the highest literacy rate in India. Our healthcare system is considered to be one of the best in the world, not just in India, but it is in par with a lot of other developed countries. We are also a well connected state in terms of roadways, airways, and yeah. So in Kerala, basically the urban-rural divide is pretty much less. Um, like I said, we're very well connected, and the youth today. There are a lot of influences. So Kerala is also very strategically placed. We have one of the largest coastlines. So yeah, that's what this entry of substances through ports and our roadways are also pretty much connected and established. So um, that is also one of the entry points.
Okay.
And coming to youth, particularly right now, there's a lot of, I would say, peer pressure, obviously. And then another factor could be the influence of media, social media, as well as movies. We produce, what do we say, larger than life movies. There are these um, movies that, the protagonists are portrayed in such a way that they use cigarettes or alcohol, and it all makes them look cool. So that's
Yeah.
how a lot of mass characters are showcased. So there's influence of media and particularly movies, and also digital media in the current scenario. And that yeah. So also I think because we're well connected. We also have access to, I mean, it's very easy to deliver a substance if ordered, you know. Maybe substances get delivered faster than your pizzas get delivered.
Ah,
So, yeah,
okay. Yeah. All right. So it sounds like, I'll jump in there because I think it's interesting. Again, most of our listeners, when they think of India, because you see different aspects of India, and of course it's a vast country, often the idea of poverty comes to mind, extreme poverty, and that can be a real driver of substance use. But what you're saying in that whole context of connectivity, you've got good infrastructure, you've got good services, all those things which would arguably the same as what Australia has. So again, the issues aren't there about poverty, lack of opportunities, those kind of things aren't as big a driver as they may be in other aspects or parts of India. But I also notice you guys are now tapping into the Instagram, Snapchat phenomena of substance delivery into your neighbourhoods. So that's real. But the port's an interesting one too. The port, Australia is the second biggest. I think it's the second biggest island in the world. I got corrected once. I think is it Greenland is the biggest island? I don't know. Anyway, but we're a big island, but there's a lot of entry points. But because we're such a vast country and so spread out population-wise, getting it from those coastal entries into the mass population is a little bit tricky. But so that's interesting. I want to come back to that. I think that's really important because what it does do is it dismantles some of the cliche ideas that a lot of the bad actors in this sector love to trade off. Poverty and homelessness, and they're all drivers. And they often are co-occurring factors. Maybe not causal and maybe more correlate than causal, I'd argue, but that's for another conversation, another group, and another day.
yeah.
But yeah, we'll
I wanted to add one more thing.
jump in. Yeah,
Also,
jump in.
this is an easy source to make money, and that's the reason why a lot of youth get carried away, get influenced, because even if they're into colleges, they will require money for their, personal, even if they have allowances, some families, but they might require a little more, and then it's an easy way to make money. So it's very easy to target students, be it school-going students as well as university students. So that's also one influence. And then this whole the trend, if you look at it, there's a lot of normalization of substance use, and then somehow youth and children have started to think it's okay, it's cool. I mean, you have to be a certain way to look cool, and unfortunately, substance use is sort of branded as looking cool when we have a lot of other means to look cool. But yeah.
I understand. So disposable income and what we like to call here at Delgado Institute the currency of cool, substance use. It's a toxic combination in any culture. We understand that. But we'll get back to that because I think there's a lot of synergy here, a lot of crossover. Adam, you recently took over the national running of the Hope Tour in Australia, which is pretty awesome. Tell us a bit about how you came to be in that role and what does Hope Tour seek to address? What are some of the common themes you're seeing when you go into schools with kids? You know, what are some of the issues that are presenting? Some of the postures, some of the attitudes that are just bubbling around to the surface. Not the bravado, not the outside, but what's really going on, and that tend to lean into perhaps the cool factor, trying to be cool, or even engage with substances. So tell us a bit about how you got into that space and what your role is and what you do for a living, my friend.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a youth coordinator at a local church here in Bunbury, which is 2 hours south of Perth, the most isolated city in the world. So we're even more isolated, which is awesome. It was really random how I got involved. But one time, my pastor actually asked if I wanted to go see a schools tour over in Melbourne that he had been a part of before, which was at that time the Hope Tour, which was run out of a separate business over there. And I took a free trip, you know what I mean, and went over there for a couple of days.
Junket.
Yeah, you know, but it was great, and I really had caught like a vision and a heart for what they were doing over there, especially for school kids, and just the amount of joy and hope you can bring to young people just through other mediums. You know, I thought that was something that I really caught the vision on, and I was really passionate about. And while we were over there, the whole reason that we were brought over there was actually to bring it back to WA and bring it back to Bunbury. And so the next year we started running it here. And it was awesome. And Bunbury is a very community, quiet town, and we were able to get into our first year into 8 schools, and now we're just expanding and growing and trying to go further down the southwest, further up into Perth. And then last year, actually, the person who was running it is a pastor of a church over in Melbourne, and unfortunately his church grew to a point that he couldn't facilitate the running of Hope Tour himself. And my name was put forward because the things we're doing in Bunbury is amazing, and it's such a blessing to be a part of it. But it's just been run very well how we've done it, and so I got the opportunity to be national coordinator and run both Melbourne and WA at the time last year. So that was my first year running it, and then this year we've expanded. We're going to go to Sydney this year. And we've also expanded down to Perth for the first time this year. And our goal is to see hope brought to every single state. And you know, every child deserves hope, and especially in the schools context, especially that age bracket. We do high schoolers, so from years 6 to 12, we come in and spread a message of hope and resilience. But the biggest thing we bring, I guess, the mediums and the things that happen is we see a lot of kids going through different challenges in their life. Obviously being kids is not easy. And we kind of talk against the I guess you could say the after effects of that. So when something goes wrong, what do you do? How do you have resilience? How do you have hope? Because we see a lot of, especially the older age groups, turn to things like drugs and alcohol, partying, those sort of things to drown the sorrows, and just because that they think that's going to hide the fact for a little time. And we talk about the mask a lot of times, like there's things that you have that mask that for a certain time.
Sure.
And then this year especially, we're just talking about putting one foot in front of the other. That's our biggest thing, is how do you get back up after life puts you down, or something happens that you can't physically get out of that. And that's finding other people and putting one foot in front of the other. And I think for us, two of the biggest issues we deal with are alcohol, drugs, and also suicide, and just how that affects young people. Especially, we've seen, I talk about it pretty openly, but when I was at school, which isn't that long ago now, even though I am getting older, but we didn't really have a lot of suicides in our age bracket, or during my time, I never really heard about it until I kind of became a youth coordinator and found out there's just so much more. And, a lot of times it's something that really kids really struggle with, and then they hold on to it for a long time and it actually affects them later in life. So we come in and try and bring joy and hope into those spaces, give them good strategies as well, and point them towards good people and good things to go to when life does get you down. As we know with World Resiliency Week, how do you be resilient when life challenges come up? And so that's I'm in my second year now of being the national coordinator, and we're about to have Hope Tour WA actually in 2 weeks. We're about to do Hope Tour here, and then a month after that we're in Melbourne, and then a week after that in Sydney, and then hopefully next year we're going to expand into 2 more states and grow it even more. But yeah, it's just really been a blessing being a part of that, seeing the data that comes out of it. We did a survey last year of the data that actually comes out, how kids feel afterwards, as well as a survey of teachers and how the students perform afterwards. And we've just seen amazing things, giving kids practical strategies and just being that voice of hope and resilience, especially when there is such, like Sneha just said, just such easy access to things like drugs and alcohol. So much easier these days, especially just with the people around, and also with the rise of social media. It's just so much harder to have hope in these times, especially with all the content that they're consuming, the mediums that they're consuming. It's so difficult.
It's relentless, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, it is. It's just bombarding their brains. So being able to be that positive voice and go into so many schools, I think it's another massive blessing, is they're able to actually, we've partnered with another organization over in Melbourne to have, they're trying to see 70 schools this year just in the Melbourne area, which is just amazing. So hopefully this year we're going to hit over 100 schools in Australia, which is
fantastic.
So cool.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Look, and again, you can see the crossover here. It's very similar, and self-medication, and let's use that term deliberately. Self-medication becomes in a analgesic culture, which we have now fostered for a long time. It's like, especially the self-determined analgesic culture. I'm feeling like rubbish. What's a quick fix? I want to be cool, so let's manage it with this stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously the legal drug, the most easily accessed drug is alcohol, the legal substance. And of course, that's, again, for the listeners out there, you realize that when the ultimate permission for a substance is legalization, and with the ultimate permission comes ultimate consumption. So just be aware of that. So just again, for those who've lost sight of that. But yeah, it's interesting to watch when, this culture, this particular generation, arguably is the most, we talk about the Humpty Dumpty dilemma, it's the most technologically advanced, socially connected, health potential and longevity potential generation that's ever lived on the planet. It's simultaneously in the First World West particularly, or First World West reflecting cultures, it's the most fragile. And that fragility is learned, that fragility is passively taught. And what I love about what Fourth Wave do and what Catalyst do and what Hope Tour does is that it pushes back against that and says this is not the norm. Yeah. This in fact is a toxic counterfeit that we need to push back against, and which we'll come back and visit that in a minute, because I think that's awesome. Now, see how you're being a catalyst, just for the sake of our audience, tell us what a catalyst is in your context, and how do you see that working? Some of the programs that you're seeing bring kids, into a proactive and positive life that sort of says, well, I don't need this stuff. Tell us about that.
Okay, so everybody at Fourth Way Foundation is designated as a catalyst. There are no any other positions or any other designations we have. So we have the directors, the advisory board, and then all of us are catalysts. And Fourth Way Foundation's project in Kerala, which is called Project Venda. And Venda in the vernacular means no, or I don't want. And it's a very relatable term to every Malayalis or every Keralaite. It's a very commonly used word, and it's very simple. It connects with the audiences. It connects with children. And we are a prevention-focused approach, and we've been working in Kerala for the past 10 years. And this is the 10th year of Venda and 20th year of Fourth Way Foundation, in fact. So we are, and Fourth Way is an organization that works with children. And in Kerala, we focus on substance use prevention. So the core of what we do is sensitizing children. We go to schools across Kerala and do prevention awareness education sessions. And in our sessions, we tell them how important they are, how relevant, how unique they are. We explain to them what drugs and alcohol can do to their brain. So we teach them the science of addiction and the importance of staying away from substances at this age because it's going to affect their brain and their bodies, and how they can channelize their energy into something good and positive. And for a lot of children, it will be the very first time somebody is
Oh, wow.
telling them that they're important or that
Wow.
they're
Yeah,
relevant.
that's a big
And
deal. Yeah.
yes, and one of the features of this student sensitization program is it's conducted by peers. It's people people my age. It's basically youth who deliver these sessions, and for them, for these students attending the sessions, it's more like listening to an elder brother or an elder sister rather than listening to an authoritarian
A
figure
crusty
or a
old
teacher.
bloke like me. Yeah, I hear. Yeah, good.
Yeah, so for them it's very relatable, and so after the sessions, most of them, we have students coming and sharing their problems, which they might not have shared with with
Very
their
good.
teachers or even with their parents. And some of them might even come and tell us, my friend is using this. What can we do to help them? So children, if at all they are in the influence of substances or at times might get into substances, for them it's an eye opener. And so like I was saying, after a session, children come and say, we've never had a session like this before. We don't in fact say about any substances. We don't touch upon any substances or what particular substances does, but then
Excellent. That's good.
it's a very general kind of session. And then also with regards to Vanda, we are so the study that we've done, what we've understood is out of 100 students in a class, if we take, at least 5% of the children are addicted to substances. And in a group of 100, at least 5 are addicted to substances, and then they require long-term care and rehab. And there's just 10% who are using substances. They might be the initial phases, and then for which we have to equip, school counselors, childcare professionals, health professionals. And then there's 75% of children who not use substances, but they might have a family member or a friend of theirs or a neighbor or anybody around them who's using substances. And there's a high chance that at some point these children might also get into substances, or they might not. So our main focus is on the 75%. And they are the fence sitters. Either it's to that side or to this side. So the sensitization drive we do for students is one. And then we also do student care. So like I said, after a session, usually if at all, children have something to share, they come and talk to us. Or we also get requests from teachers, saying that, there might be children who require help. And so what we do is we don't, in fact, talk to that particular child. We do a student care camp. And then if that particular child belongs to a particular class, we, in fact, our catalysts do this primary level of assessment for every child in the class. So this particular child, or this particular group of children are not stigmatized. We do that session for everybody in the class. We don't pick them because they have to go back to their classes. And even if it has got nothing to do with substance use or anything, or it could be, the teacher might have told us the child is not good at academics, but then we don't want that child to be stereotyped or stigmatized. And that's one thing we do. And then
you keep going.
So we and if at all children have a high dependence in substances, we refer them for treatment that we have to the hospitals or psychologists or psychiatrists we associate with. And then there's also we also sensitize teachers and parents in the school setting, and also community intervention programs where there are monthly gatherings. We sensitize the community on the importance of coming together, or being vigilant for the children in their communities. It could be as simple as, repairing a broken street light, or clearing, what do we say, a place that's not used by anybody. And, if there are places that doesn't have proper lighting, there's a chance that, people start coming there and then they start using substances. So it belongs to the neighborhood. And, if people are vigilant, if they repair the light, or if they clear off these unused places, there's antisocial activities cannot happen. And people belonging to that particular community are the owners of that community, and if not just the homes, but also the places around them. Yeah, and then so we sensitize.
I love it. Yeah,
we sensitize community members, because when we sensitize children, even if children have understood, that they have accepted it, and they're equipped to say no, they go back to these communities where the things might be normal. So we sensitize everybody who's associated with the child, from the parents to the teachers to the community members, the enforcement agencies, healthcare professionals. And in India, we have something called local self-governance. We have panchayats, or municipalities and corporations. We have a decentralized form of government at the village level, and we work with these village level governments, because they also have that power to bring about change and to intervene in matters concerning their their area. So we sensitize them.
The community.
Yes, their communities. We build their capacities. We form anti-drug committees with the representatives of the panchayats. It could be the president, the elected members. There are healthcare workers in the panchayats. There are officials working with women. So we take representatives from every sectors, and then build their capacities and form anti-drug committees, so that they can sustain the program even if project will end up withdrawals after 5 or 6 years.
Perfect.
Yes. So that's our community intervention model.
Wow, absolutely. And I think you rolled out the entire platform of Fourth Way Foundation. It's awesome. And I'm not unfamiliar with that, because I know your boss pretty well. And it's a fabulous program. And I love the all of community dynamic, top down, bottom up. When you have an environment that enables that kind of mechanism to work collaboratively, it's really helpful. Australia's got things like local drug action committees. I'm involved with a couple. But again, they're all very, eclectic and disparate, and you've got different agendas coming to bear. But I love the fact that this is a kind of almost leaning hard into the one voice, one message, one focus, which we have for our tobacco in Australia, but nothing else. But the thing that I like, and the data's now coming out, evidence is coming out. This is for not for you guys so much, but our listeners. The evidence, this is published, peer-reviewed and published evidence on spaces, particularly for young people, the environments that they find themselves in, and socially as well as physically, can have a huge impact on what's called a environmental contagion. You've got the science is now backing the notion of in connection with nature and being part of that space as well, creating open spaces. Of course, sport's always been on the table as an incredibly important protective factor. And what's also interesting, spirituality is very much back on the table, and because people need something beyond purpose, they need meaning and sustainable meaning in their lives to help them work through the issues, not just scaffold or band-aid ones. So I love that. I know, Adam, you were nodding robustly with a lot of that, because I'm sure that Bunbury, being that isolated spaces, you kind of echoed that before. And of course, moving into bigger contexts like Melbourne and Sydney, it's a little bit more tricky, but yeah, tell us about some of that working in your environment as well.
Yeah, I think the biggest one, the reason I was nodding is something about Bunbury is Bunbury's a very a lot of the work here comes from fly in, fly out, or drive in, drive out.
Yeah.
And so for people that don't know what that is, it's obviously like a father or a mother going away for weeks at a time. Usually 2 in 1 is kind of the most common swing. So 2 weeks working, 1 week back. And that we see that like in Hope Tour, it's a very big catalyst for people, missing a father or missing a mother throughout that whole time. And that's what is like a massive catalyst leading to other things, because when they don't have that recognition, that figure over their life, that person speaking into their life, like Sneha just said before, the first person that actually told them, wow, you matter, and I love you. You see that driving so many other things, and usually that leads to a lot of these young people acting up or going to things like drugs and alcohol, losing a lot of hope. And in Bunbury, we see that a lot because a vast majority of especially fathers, they do fly in, fly out, out of here. And we're a big mining town, and there's people whose fathers do drive in, drive out as well, which is just a long day. So we do see a lot of absent father figures in people's lives.
Yeah.
And that therefore then is a catalyst to other things, which
I
think 100% the environment that you can provide for a young person will be like, obviously you just said it, the evidence is there. It's a massive driver for the way they communicate, the way they conduct themselves even, and the way they also represent themselves to other people. And we see that wherever we go. You can definitely see when a young person, when their father or mother hasn't been there, where it's been absent. And I think that's something that's really heartbreaking, but also that's the world we live in at the moment, and that's it's a big thing. And I didn't realize how much of a kind of driver it was till coming here and doing a lot more in the youth space, because for a lot of the world, fly in, fly out isn't really a thing that they do. It's not really a big portion of jobs, whereas probably here in Bunbury, I'd say close to 50% of people do that as a job. So there's a lot, but then on the flip side of that, there's also a lot of things, because we're a small town. You do have a lot of sports teams and clubs and those kind of things, which also impact positively for young kids when they have that purpose and that thing that they consistently go to. I think that definitely your environment just shapes so much of what a kid does and acts, and how they cooperate with not only people older than them, but also their own peers.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I think. Yeah, and the specifically the fatherlessness issue. A lot of people don't like to touch this. It's become a bit of a political hot football, but the evidence is overwhelming on this. Particularly when dads, of course, mums are absolutely vital. Mums are they are the chief caregivers, even if they don't want to be. They are. It's not just a hardwiring issue either, ladies and gentlemen. We understand from birth, the whole birthing process and what happens with that is quite remarkable. I won't go down that rabbit hole right now. It's too much data. But we were designed for this kind of connection. And fly in, fly out, that is a vocational absenteeism, which is, it's a choice to a certain extent, but in some ways it's not, because people got to make a living. But when children are abandoned by a parent, like for no reason, I just don't want to be a dad, or they're there, but they're not there. They're not present. And that's why your comment before, Sneha, and Adam echoed it as well, is that when you come into a school and say, you got value, you matter. And it's like, and it's a shock. Now, if you've been in an environment where you've been told that on a regular basis, it's not that you take it for granted. It's what should be. You're fed, your psyche, your soul is fed that which is substantive. And it's supposed to be that way. And when you get that, I think it was John C. Maxwell who said, encouragement is oxygen for the soul. When your soul has no oxygen, it can't breathe. And it looks for anything to give it that breathe in. Unfortunately, the bad actors in the community will offer this. Look, this will make you feel better. It's okay. And I've been in this youth work for 44 years, and the same story repeats every generation. Different context, different energy, different outside factors, but the same drivers: identity, significance, worth, meaning, connectivity, that sense of who I am, how I am. All those things never go away. That's the human condition. That's the human design. That's why we're created. And when that's abandoned or disrupted or dysfunctional, then people just want to band-aid it. They want to scaffold it. But anyway, I'll get in my little preach session in a moment. I won't do that. I'll spare us all that. But I love it, guys. I love it. And the Vendor Cup, I'm going to put in a plug for the Vendor Cup here. The Vendor Cup is an annual event with young people from all over their region, and that's kind of spreading out a bit too. But some of the young people that have gone through the Vendor Cup have actually risen to state and national level in football. Well, we call it soccer here because there's so many football codes. Isn't that right, Sneha? There's been some real
Yes,
success stories.
yes, yes. So another activity that Portray Foundation does is alternative pursuits at Project Venda. And what we do, intent is, to channelize the energy of these children and young adults into something positive and healthy.
Yeah.
And we use sports, arts, theater, music to
Yeah.
engage children. I'll get into sports, but we also do theater. We do theater workshops for college, university going students. And it's like a theater workshop that we do, and then these university students, in fact, go back to their communities or different communities and
Fantastic.
perform in the
Yeah.
communities.
Yeah,
And
that's awesome.
yeah, and then coming to sports, we sports is a thing here. When we started our work in the coastal communities, it was the students, it was the children there who said that they love football, and we initially did something with football, and we provide football coaching, and there's something called Venda Cup, which is our annual football tournament. We started the Venda Cup in 2017, and the tournament, in fact, focuses. It's called Game for Safe, and safe in Venda's context is substance abuse-free environment. So it's a tournament to provide them with an alternative high to convey the message of prevention and channelizing their energy into something good. So in 2017 when we started, we just had 4 teams and just 4 boys teams from one particular district in Kerala. Kerala has 14 districts. And it was very difficult to get a girls' team. One, girls did not play contact sports.
Correct.
Parents were not encouraging girls to
Yeah, it's a culture thing. I
play
get it.
football.
Yeah.
They had to wear shorts, and it was not considered appropriate for girls to go play football. So it was very difficult to find a girls' team when we started in the first year of Venda Cup. But then it slowly changed. And last year, which was our 8th edition of Venda Cup, we had 61 girls teams and 61 boys teams.
Yeah. Boom. Mic
Yeah.
drop. Boom.
And we had it in 10 districts of Kerala. And this year we have it in 14 districts, and we'll be having 800 boys and 800 girls, not teams, but 800 boys and girls participating in the Venda Cup.
Sure.
So what condition that we keep forward is, if it's a co-ed school, if it's a mixed school, the school has to have a girls' team. They have to bring in a girls' team, because boys are always usually into sports, and they play football, so it's very easy to get a boys' team. But then it's kind of difficult to get a girls' team. But so they have to bring in a girls' team, and then the areas that we focus are also vulnerable areas. Where substance use is prevalent, and then children do not have the opportunity to play or do not have access to, sporting facilities. And then the aim of Venda Cup is also to provide a professional sporting experience for these children, along with, providing the high of the game, to provide a professional sporting experience, because girls or boys, these teams coming to play do not have a proper school ground. They do not have a physical, they do not
There's your
have
environmental factor. Yep. Kill.
They do not have a physical education teacher. So it's within these limitations that these children, both boys and girls teams. So even if they're bringing in a girls teams, we have, usually it's the boys who train these girls team, because they do not have a coach. But then it's that, pure desire to want to come and play. And Venda Cup is also an opportunity we don't focus on professional players. It's people who do not have any chance to play. Children who do not have any chance to play, to come and play for the mere joy of play. And then we provide them with the professional football gear. We provide them with nutrition. And these children, even though they might be playing football, we have children who might not own a boots.
Of course.
Football gear. Yeah, and it's through Venda Cup.
They need the kit. Yep.
Yes, and it's through the Venda Cup that these children are having. Children own a boot or a gear or even the jerseys, and then like
Awesome.
Shane was saying, we've had these children who've come play football for the first time, been selected to district level, state level, and even national teams. We have a story of Thomas Major, who's also working at Venda. He came through Venda Cup. He and then I think he was a participant or a team manager at the Venda Cup, and then we had something called Slum Soccer coming up in 2019. And two of the players of Venda Cup are sent to the selections. They represented Kerala and played at the Slum Soccer. And then two of them got selected to the national team, and they played at the World Cup, Slum Soccer World Cup, in
Wow.
2019 in UK. And our team won the Dragon Cup, and they were and the Fair Play Cup. So Fair Play is one of the concepts we have in the Venda Cup, and it's just to we give them the message of playing fair. It could be respecting team members, playing with team spirit, and any fair play moment is awarded with a fair play T-shirt after the tournament. Also, prior to the tournament, we train these managers. There'll be a representative from the school. We train the managers on the child protection policies, the rules of the football, concepts like fair play, alternative pursuits, or the importance of creating substance abuse-free environments, the alternative high. And then there's also a module which is called Beyond Football, which is the adaptation of FIFA's Football for Good program. And the module has life skills. So with each football skill that is taught to these kids, a life skill is also taught.
Yeah.
So there's teamwork, there's resilience.
And Adam's nodding on that. Yeah, Adam's nodding on that.
Really.
No, it's good.
I'm
going to jump in. I'm going to jump in there now because
sure.
I think that's brilliant. And Adam, I want to just tie back into you and what you're doing with the Hope Tour, because again, there's this whole equipping and empowering and enabling. I mean, we use the word fulcrum. Fulcrum is kind of like a lever, but when a person is a fulcrum or a group is a fulcrum, they actually facilitate capacity and capability for action. And that's what I love about the Hope Tour and about Fourth Wave and the Venda Cup. It's about you're just empowered. It's such a cheesy word. Everyone's empowered these days. But yeah, it is remarkable. When you and Sneha talked about the arts as well. Of course, a big part of your tour is music and dance and whatnot. And the follow up, of course, your networks are a key issue in building community around the kids that may not have that. Tell us about some of that impact and what that looks like in the Hope Tour.
Yeah, so I think the beautiful thing that we've done over the last couple of years is, it's all well and good when you feel good and when things are going good for you, but then you can still be that person that brings someone else up, and so a lot of times we've talked about, I think I said at the start, about finding your five or finding the people around you that can uplift you. But at the same time, we go into some schools and maybe everything is going sweet for a kid, but we always voice the fact you could still be that one of those five people for someone else. You can always be that uplifting word and that voice in their life, because you don't know what other people are going through, and a lot of times kids obviously they try and hide that. So I love touching on the fact that you can be that person. Just sometimes in schools, just saying hello to someone. We had a story about last year, one of our speakers talked about a story about this boy that always just said hello to a girl a few years younger than him because he was a head prefect, and that changed her life. Just knowing that this head prefect knew her name is a huge thing. So I think there's something beautiful about just being that encouraging voice to other people, and especially in these times, finding your people and being in that either team environment, whatever it may be, is a huge thing. And we say it doesn't have to be five people, your five best friends. It can be teachers, it can be counselors, it can be groups.
Perfect.
It can be your sports teams, it can be cousins. It doesn't have to be people closest to you. It's just those people that you can trust and that can actually look out for you in those times. Because a lot of people, I love the Venda Cup and what it does, because it gives people an identity and a purpose that is just a lot safer. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, is kids are looking for that safety in order to be able to speak about things that happen. So we always try and point them towards counselors, or a lot of schools will have people to speak to, chaplains, or different people in their community that they can speak to. But also, we stay afterwards and speak with the kids, point them towards teachers, because I think we underestimate the value that teachers can have on kids' lives.
True.
And they do is actually quite a phenomenal and beautiful thing. And a lot of time, I know, even for myself, that teachers weren't the closest people to me, but even now seeing them afterwards, the amount of care and consideration they put in for young people is huge. So I think we always try and point them towards those areas of encouragement. But if you're someone that is going through something that, if you're someone that isn't going through that at the time, you can be one of those people for other people in your school, in your community, in your sports group. And I think that, if we were all, we talk about, if you spent 2 minutes a day, just, what percentage of that is a day? It's very, very, very minimal. But if you tried 2 minutes a day just to encourage someone else in your school, what would your school look like if everyone?
Yeah, it's good.
You know what I mean? What would youth groups and sports teams look like if everyone did that just for 2 minutes? And I think a lot of problems that we have where people are, going to other sources or other things would be changed because of that, because they know that they're valued and loved and actually appreciated in a different environment.
Yeah, no, it's good, mate. You don't want to self-medicate when you're actually in a good space. That's the interesting thing. And I get it, damage management, hurt alleviation, grief, pain, whatever pain it is. People just want it to go away. And unfortunately, again, the analgesic culture that's been presented to young people, I noticed that the Panadol ad did change about 5 years ago. I used to say, pain is what gets in the road of life, And it's like, you got to get rid of pain. It's like, it is. So therefore, we're learning to live with that and deal with that is also an important part of building resilience. And I wanted to talk, the reason I wanted to mention that is because you guys were part of the team that put your hand up to be part of this year's design architects for the World Resiliency Week, which goes for the whole year. We set up the World Resiliency Week to pair with World Drug Day, or what's called World Day Against Drug Abuse and Drug Trafficking, with the United Nations platform, which, we value. We're part of the United Nations in the ECOSOC status. The Delgado Institute has an economic and social consultation status with the UN. And so we value that space and want to use it to benefit young people particularly. That's our kind of wheelhouse. But the difficulty with that particular space, it became that World Drug Day became more and more about what drugs are doing, the problems are growing, the issues are growing, the kinds of drugs that are changing and morphing. And there's, in the synthetic space, there's 1,500 different iterations of substances. And it just becomes this mess about trying to stop damage and manage trauma. So it became more reactive rather than proactive. So not to compete with World Drug Day, but to pair with World Drug Day, we set up this week, World Resiliency Week. And we got 40 plus partners now, and there's 8 ambassadors, of which Sneha has one. We're seeing this grow, and from all over the world, and we want to see people own that space. It's not one particular organisation; it's a global community collaboration. So we're excited by that. And we've got someone from India, we've got someone from Australia, we've got a couple of people from the US. It's just a great collaboration. And what you come up with this year is fabulous. This year's theme is the pulse of resilience. Fall, fill, and rise. Now, you guys have answered a lot of questions I'm going to ask anyway, so kudos to you. You're on it. You're stepping up and dishing it out, which is fantastic. But what I'd like to do is just a couple of aha moments for you. I don't need the long process of how you came to have this, this particular theme. We had a chat with Jen and Dave earlier in the week, and that's going to be on our podcast as well, about their journey in that space. But for you guys, I'll start with you, Adam. What were sort of some of the highlight aha moments when because you started this in March, what sort of were the moments you went, oh, this is a good idea, oh, that works. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think when we started talking about just like the way resiliency is a conglomerate of different things. It's not only just an action that we participate in, because there's also things, like sitting in that and realizing what happened before, how it makes you feel, and all these different things. I think for me, the biggest thing was a lot of kids are just told to, move on or get up or toughen up, things like that. Whereas we're not actually dealing with the things that happened before. Like, how did we get to this space? What are we actually doing to then build ourselves up better for next time? And we talked about this, fall, feel, rise. And actually the feeling part was something that we spoke about for quite a while. And just, what do we feel in this moment? What are we sitting in? What can we do next time? What can we change? What can we build into ourselves? How can resiliency become just a normal part of our life, but not only our life? How can we deal with what we're going through right now for the next time? And I think when we all spoke about that, it's something that is very just different to what culture speaks about. Like a lot of people just want us to move on or change or get better. And, it's not really that point of, oh, wait, what are we actually feeling right now? What can we actually do about it? How am I feeling today? And we also spoke about, another big thing was, it's not actually always that when something really bad goes wrong that you have to be resilient. There's also just things in, everyday life for kids. We've been speaking about it a lot, and we've all alluded to it, the fact that our generation that we're looking after is so connected. But it's also, yes, very fragile. One post, one message can break down a person, but we can't see it. They put up a mask, and actually, some days there's not like it's a bad day, good day. It's, some days are worse, some days are better, some days are, sitting in the middle, and actually talking about that of how do I actually feel right now? Like, is today a bad day? How can I get out of this? Who can I talk to? Not being that person that just sits in it, and actually, taking stock every once in a while of where we actually sit in this resilience spectrum, I guess you could say. And I think that for me was a really awesome thing that we talked about. And just that, it's not just an action, it's actually how we live our life, especially for young people, how they live their life each and every day, how they feel that. And I'm taking too much time now, so I'm going to pass on to Sneha.
That's good, mate. It's a posture. And I think posture is different for just a moment or an event, or even a skill set. It's a posture of being able to sit with something. And also the other side of that coin, and before we go to you, Sneha, the other side of that coin is a lot in our culture now becomes therapy focused. In other words, we have to, we feel something, then all of a sudden we end up sitting with it. We're sitting with it in a healthy way, but then we start to marinate in it. And then we have to, and then all of a sudden it becomes a small event becomes, if it's a manifestation of something much bigger, absolutely drill down into it, deal with it, focus on it, help the person work through the catalyst for their mess. But if it's just a moment, then we can turn it into this kind of sort of morose sort of dwelling, and that too has become problematic in some sectors. But Sneha, what were some of the moments for you in the conversation? Adam's, took the lion's share of that, but I'm sure there was a moment or two there where you went, because a lot of the stuff you both have talked about, you're already sitting with. You may not have had the words for it, but you're already sitting with. Go, Sneha, tell us.
Yeah, it's again the feel and the fall part of it, because like Adam said, it's easy to say, just keep going, and there's so much of importance given to the things being good or things being the better way. But then I feel with this entire tagline of fail, fall, and rise, there's acknowledgement to the fall, feel, and rise. We're sort of acknowledging the lows, and we're encouraging people to just feel that for a moment, and then, but instead of staying the same state of mind, just to learn from it, think of a new methodology, and keep going forward. And like you said, it's also, and then even if it's a rise, it's not stable. It's not going to be. It's not permanent.
It's not permanent. Yeah.
It's not permanent. It's not going to remain that way. So there's again that
this will pass.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and there's again that low moment at time. It needn't be like a hardship or a struggle or like a really big thing, but then we face it in our day-to-day life. And if we don't build the protective factors, or if we don't sensitize people, or if people are not aware of the protective factors, there's also possibility that they get away with it and they're not able to rise. So I think this whole theme, it goes well with the whole the Resilience Week and everything. And then even Pulse of Resilience, we initially thought of Rhythm of Resilience, and then that's when we shifted to Pulse, because we feel Pulse of Resilience is more relatable to youngsters. It's more connected with youngsters, and also even if it's the heartbeat, there's like an up, then there's
That's good.
there's a downfall. I mean,
Yeah, the imagery is good, isn't it? Yeah.
yes, even if it's our heart, the way our heart functions, also, there's a slight pause. Though it doesn't stop after between contractions, there's a pause. So even as humans, we also need to sort of take that break when things are not going well. But then we shouldn't stay in that be in that state. But then like I said in the beginning, think of strategies, come up with new strategies to go forward. And that's life. I mean, difficulties are meant to happen. There's nobody with setbacks or downfalls. There's nobody with a perfect life.
Perfect.
Yeah.
No, perfect. I think that's what I love about the fall. And we've done a few different podcasts on this as well, but the panic that happens when people fall, I get it. No one likes to fall. No one likes that decline, that moment of I've lost control, things are going bad, this is a mess. It generates the anxiety. You can feel the blood pressure go up, anxiety go up. But learning to identify what's happening and start, instead of reacting, biophysically and then trying to look for the quickest fix to stop but learning to sit with it. And that's really, really powerful. And that's a skill set that resiliency brings to people. Their ability to sit with pain, their ability to sit with trauma, the ability to sit with a circumstance that is disheveled and disruptive, not to embrace it and wallow in it, but to sit with it without going into a panic or a depressive or an extreme mode where we react so badly that we end up making bad choices and we just snowball the effects of the environment. And this is one of the things that World Resiliency Week is aimed at doing. And the fact that you guys are part of the solution just thrills me to bits. It just really thrills me, because that peer involvement is really important. And I like what you said before, Adam, the standard line, which has been around for a long time. And what's your 5? What is your 5? Hopefully it's at least one parent, but it's noticeably in one health professional, but there's at least 2, if not 3 adults in that, because we are still young people, and I love young people's perspective, but they don't have a broad perspective. They have a narrow perspective, which is valid and important and vital, and I want to mine it for all it's worth, but they don't have the broad perspective. You need to get outside that bubble to see that there is hope. There is a reasonable grounds for positive thoughts. There is a reasonable grounds for the next level. So I just thrilled a bit that you guys are part of this. Now, that World Resiliency, we're going to finish with it in a moment. We're nearly an hour. It's just going so quick, guys. But World Resiliency Week is on the 26th of June every year. And this year, 26th to the 30th is that 5-day window, 6-day window that we operate out of. This year's, again, we'll say it again, this year's theme is the pulse of resilience: fall, feel, rise. And Adam and Sneha and Dave and Jen are the architects of this, and they will be reaching out to, and have begun reaching out to all the partners on the World Resiliency Day platform. And you can visit that. It's got lots of resources there. They're all free to everybody. There's no charge here. Obviously, there's resources that go beyond the platform that you may want to engage with particularly with clinicians or practitioners. They may charge you for that, but that's if you pursue their resources. Everything that we have is free of charge. And again, it's not the best and the brightest, but it's consistent and it's solid and it's accessible, particularly for young people. But it's aimed for 15 to 55. It's kind of that whole spectrum. We don't just cater for young people, but you guys are part of that, but brief. But so that's coming up on the 26th to 30th. I'm going to flog that because we want people to engage with the resources, want them to engage with Fourth Wave in India. We want them to engage with Hope Tour in Australia, with Dave's work in the US. He's all over the place, and Jen's real human performance stuff. Great work. And they're just 4 of the resources that we have online that are available. So again, flogging that on purpose. First time I've done this on this program, but really wanting to push people into the space because we want to resource you and your communities to be resilient, to be these resilient actors that make a difference. You are the change agents in your culture. And that's what we want to see happening. Now, to finish it off, just to close this out, guys, I normally ask a question, which I won't today. Same with the other guys. I didn't ask this question. But if you had one message to give our listeners about this year's World Resiliency Week, what would it be? Just one punchy message. What would it be? Go, Sneha. I'll let you go first.
I think it's again the tagline is what comes in my mind with this tagline of the World Resiliency Week is what comes to my mind. It's okay to be not okay, but it just said, identify what it is, feel what it is, but instead of staying the same, find a way to rise or to keep going forward.
Perfect. Love it. Adam, go.
One sentence is hard, but
paragraph.
I would just slow down and feel what's actually going wrong and be easy on yourself. Take your time because there's no one size fits all. Resiliency and hope looks different for everyone. And find your people, find your five, slow it down, and be kind to yourself in these situations.
Perfect, guys.
Yes, and one more thing.
One more thing.
What, yes.
Go,
no matter
go.
what, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And it's not an oncoming train. It's actually hope.
So good.
Yeah, guys, it's been absolutely fantastic having you on. Really, really enjoyed this conversation. I think it's going to be very helpful for a lot of people who chime in. And for those listening again, our sign off, let's not just avoid the unnecessary harm in our culture. Let's not be part of creating it. And more importantly today, let's be part of building resiliency into our communities. And let's use World Resiliency Week this year to do just that. Until next time, be well.
As we wrap up today's session, remember, each step towards understanding is a step away from unnecessary harm. We're here to empower, inspire, and pave the way for optimal well-being. Stay resilient, stay informed, and continue being the change your community needs. Thank you for joining us at the Unnecessary Harm Podcast. Until next time, take care and keep pushing forward.